Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from two socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide, where every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock, we bring you the progressive news and views that you can use to bring you up to date on what's happening in our community, our nation, and around the world. You can find all of our previous episodes at heartlandmamas, MAMAS.com, on all podcast platforms, on YouTube, and proudly part of the Demcast USA network. Today, Marie, we're going to talk about how us, the USA, got relegated to the kids' table because apparently we were acting immature again. And we just can't seem to grow the you know what up.
You know,
And
Heidi, when we were talking about doing this show, that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, damn, Thanksgiving is going to be awkward because we're at the kids' table. And I'm thinking, we were literally relegated in the world stage to the kids' table. And quite
no,
honestly, we should be. And that's what our show today is about, folks. It's about the fake moral morality, the myths that have led us to where we are today, and how we don't deserve that place in the world stage.
we talk often, Marie, about the fallacy of American exceptionalism because we're an immigrant nation. We're a melting pot. We were founded on mercantilism. We have this false idea that we are exceptional when really all we are is a collective of a lot of different ideologies from around the world, which melted into what is now the United States, not America, the USA, because there's Canada, Mexico, South America, Central America. The USA is a melting pot and it's all full of different ideologies. And it's these differing ideologies, Murray, that and the structure of our republic, the structure of our government that has relegated us to the kids' table. Now, would you like me to tell you why this came up today?
Oh, please do, Heidi. Please do.
So, Joe Biden, our current president, decided to have a climate summit, and he invited all the leaders of the world because we jumped back into the Paris Climate Accord and we jumped back in and said, we're going to cut emissions by this. We're going to do it through infrastructure. We're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And the other countries are like, uh-huh. Yeah, we heard this during Clinton, and then W came in and rolled it back. And then Obama came in and he put in a whole bunch of new climate stuff, and then Trump rolled it all back. And now you're here telling us that you're going to do it again. We already know how you work. We know how you people work because you do something for 4 to 8 years, and then all of a sudden it's a no go for 4 to 8 years, and it gets worse because you roll back regulations and you pollute the crap out of the air and the water and the land. And then you come back to us and say, no, 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 my bad. We're good for the next 4 to 8 years. And the rest of the world is like, go sit over there at that table until you guys can pass laws that withstand past 4 to 8 years.
And Heidi, that's the climate change is one brilliant example of our
Yeah.
status on the world stage. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about how we have lost credibility, and because our allies at the climate summit today said no.
Mm-hmm.
Your policies, the way you govern is too unpredictable and does too much
Yep.
damage. We need a real commitment that isn't going to be ferried on the whims of whoever's in charge. And here's the thing. So many of our basic fundamental rights become questionable depending on who's in charge.
Oh, yeah.
Because we can't pass laws because of this bipartisan system. So let's look at the Supreme Court, right?
It's
One
not
of the
because of the bipartisan system. It's because of the partisan politics that we have dealt with since
well,
Ronald
it's because
Reagan.
we're a two-party system now. That's
Well,
it.
even before Reagan, we had some type of compromise, but since Reagan, there's been either a compassionate conservative or whoop ass liberal. You can't be like there's no common ground, even with a very middle of the road Democratic president. The right is out there shouting socialism as if they even knew what that word meant. And and
That's
the
one of my
same people
biggest
going,
irritations. They don't know what
social
that word means.
programs funded by tax dollars and implemented by the people, not socialism. Get a frickin' dictionary, people. Anyway, my mother used to say somebody has to graduate at the bottom of their class. I think we're seeing that.
But when we talk in terms of our, maybe we should finish off with world situations before we jump into domestic, as we were talking about climate change. But we really need to focus on the international stage and the types of morality that we enforce or don't enforce. Look at the WHO, leaving the WHO. Look at stopping spending for family planning and reproductive health in other countries.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah,
how we
Maureen.
pulled our assistance and our technology out of places at the whims of and that's just one
Whim.
aspect. If you look at national
Whim.
security, we
Yeah.
see that over and over again we violated national security laws, national security agreements.
Yep.
Donald Trump's administration was awful. I mean, we know at least twice that publicly he gave out secrets he shouldn't have. And you don't think about that in the moment because it's also traumatizing and intense.
Bombastic.
But we talk about the ramifications. Why Heidi and I are very proactive rather than reactive, and these ramifications are being felt. Even though we have a new president and a new Congress, it doesn't matter because our allies don't believe our systems are able to withstand. They've watched disinformation, they've watched a nation crumble. And I don't blame them. That's another reason why we have to sit at the kids' table.
When Reagan did away with what was left of the Fairness Doctrine, and it proliferated Fox News and now OAN and Breitbart and all of that other crap, so that there's no fair and balanced news. And you have people who suckle at the teat of whatever the right wing tells them to listen to, whether it's Illinois policy or the QAnon BS. There is no accountability whatsoever for the American citizen to consume news. You can consume news that goes to your ideology, to your own personal beliefs, without realizing or even having to accept that is not true.
Just because
So
it's there doesn't make it true.
doesn't mean that Bertha's niece's sister that oversaw this, that it really happened. It didn't. So instead of democracy thriving from truth and purpose, we're dying in the darkness of stupidity and
And arrogance.
news and arrogance
And American exceptionalism.
which
We
is a
need to
mess.
start, in order to fix this, we have to start teaching our kids straight up that the stories they've heard and this patriotism doesn't come from a flag or wars. It
But
comes from, like you said in
no,
the beginning, a melting pot. It comes from all over the world. This country wasn't made, it was designed by rich white men,
yeah,
but it wasn't made by a tiny group of rich white men. It was made by women and people of color and different religions. And that is what has made this nation. And our laws do not reflect that.
reflect it.
Our
No,
laws, and we're not even looking at a world scale now, just consider the us domestically,
yeah,
right? Our laws domestically do not embrace what this country is about, and that's because this false narrative, that's because this fantasy that, like you said, you're being fed with no accountability to it. And that's what terrifies politicians about these projects and revamping our education system and incorporating real history, is because they lose that control, because they know their ideas, their beliefs are not what everyone wants, but it's their way to retain control. And this brings
yep.
us to, look at the SCOTUS right now, okay?
The
When we were
Supreme
talking,
Court.
yes, sorry,
Yeah.
go to, yeah, exactly.
So we had an unprecedented previous president appointees of the federal court system, including the Supreme Court of the United States. Three political lifetime appointees at the very top court of the land, swinging the balance of power, not even following the rules that they themselves set for appointing judges in a time where we're having a change of president, where the president is in his final term, in the final months of his term. And Mitch McConnell is a liar, just like most Republicans are. And if you're a Republican out there, you're a frickin' liar, and you know it. And you're a racist and a bigot, and you know it. And you don't care. Or you think that that's okay because you justify it because you're white. And I'm white too, so is Murray. And we already know the fallibilities that the skin is only skin deep. And the rest of it is what counts. So when we look at this, especially when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and we knew that McConnell pledged to replace her immediately with one of his hand-picked people. And that's what they did with Amy Coney Barrett. Her nomination and her vetting was rushed through, pushed through, so I could get it done before Trump left off. Now we have a SCOTUS that's 6-3 conservative to let's say Republican to Democrat, because that's the truth of this. These are people. When Anton Scalia died, when he dropped dead, and they didn't allow him to be replaced under Barack Obama, he was not at a constituent's house. He was at somebody whose payroll he was on through big oil. But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the criminal Anton Scalia. We talk about him as the revered judge, late judge of the Supreme Court. Well, he's not. And he's how we got Justice Kavanaugh, who may or may not be impeached still as a justice, because there's still a whole lot of money that appeared and paid off of his huge amount of debt that he had that all of a sudden was paid off so that he could pass the vetting. So we don't know where that money came from, who donated it, but we do know that it's kind of being investigated right now, and this could be the undoing of that justice. But
more to the point, and you're right,
yeah,
Heidi.
sorry.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely right. And I'm sorry for interrupting. It just sprung with me. We talk about Judge Kavanaugh, and we talk about Amy Coney Barrett, and we talk about the games that are played in the halls that are supposed to represent us and protect us and make us a strong nation.
Instead, we make us look like fools to the rest of the world, and we have to sit at the kids' table because we cannot behave.
And we can't change those things. That's one of the things that's really frustrating is our laws. We are still governing on the basis of our Constitution, which is like significantly old, and we still act as if we are living in that time. No other nation is still working off the thing they started with, okay? And that's why we have laws, and that's why we pass things. But again, it comes to this power and control issue. The justices that are conservative, it is terrifying, because if the argument is made well enough, they will probably have to side against what they would want. It has to be a legal enough argument. But if there's any ambiguity, you know that personal issues come into play with that in any situation. And it's impossible to know how these judges are going to, how they're not, because we have so much information about who they were as people. And that shapes the future. That is the reason why we don't have health care for all. Because if the Republicans, let's just say, the Republicans don't like a bill, they challenge it and they sue for it, and they go back to court, and they then get it to the Supreme Court, and it's a bill that was decided. It's something that all Congress people got together, and it should be firm, but it's not, because they can challenge it as unconstitutional and have it thrown out. So it doesn't even matter. Our foundation is so flawed that we do base our justices on being the ones to decide to govern, and it's not right.
Well, and the thing is the checks and balances, the three branches of government, the Supreme Court being one of those three branches of government, the legislative branch, or not the judicial branch, I'm sorry, they were supposed to be used in extreme cases, not in codified law, not in amendment law. They were supposed to be used when nothing else could be decided. And we have cases coming up before them that they've agreed to look at, including one that could allow people who have nationwide, not defending states' rights, um, to have concealed carry without permit.
States,
So,
let's just clarify this. So there's a case in front of the Supreme Court, and they've agreed to hear it because there is they people in concealed carry folks in New York feel it's an infringement that they are not allowed to do so. Blanket concealed carry without permit or what anything. So it's going through the courts right now. It's the Supreme Court agreed to hear it, and the state itself has said no, we don't want this. Yet because they brought it to the Supreme Court, the state can be overruled, which we all know Republicans love to cry about states' rights,
right,
unless it's something they don't like.
right, until it's something they don't like, and it doesn't matter if a majority of gun owners, 90% of them would like to have universal background checks, mandatory insurance, mandatory training, mandatory licensing. They would like to see that, but you get a couple of these little squeaky wheels that could make it dangerous for every single living, breathing person and thing on in this country. And then we wonder why we're relegated to the kids' table. We've had 167 mass shootings. It's 4 or more people, not including the gunman, since January 1st. And we wonder why we're sitting at the kids' table, at the world's kid table.
We are
Wake
ranked
up.
4th in the world for most dangerous maternal mortality rate.
Yeah.
We have the 4th highest maternal mortality rate in the entire
right.
world, guys. You know who's above us? Like El Salvador. We are
Yep.
screwed. And yet we say that you can't wear a burqa or that a woman who wears a tank top deserves to be raped. And we are so not the moral high ground and pillar that we want to believe that we are. And that's what this show is about. It's ridiculous that laws can be removed, laws that the people like and want. And I don't think our conservative friends understand that.
I think, you touched earlier on the Trump administration rolling back family planning and contraceptive advice for third world or developing world countries. We have that problem here in the United States, and every time somebody wants to fight me about abortion, I always ask them the same question, Murray: what causes abortion? And they'll just look at me like, duh. And it's like, no, why would somebody go have an abortion for an unplanned or unwanted pregnancy? How do you prevent that?
Offer
Healthcare.
options to prevent
Healthcare.
that. Healthcare.
Family planning advice. Well, not, contraceptives. That's against my religion. That's against your religion, not my religion. Not everybody's
Girl,
religion.
we are not even going to talk about religion today because if we did,
No.
I think I might go
go
off the
on forever.
rails. We'll save that for another show.
But see, that's what's happened in our Supreme Court is that it's been stacked with people who are ultra right-wing religious people.
And these are
That
people we've
endangers-
talked about who've come up through the various societies, and we've talked about those being on judicial lists
Federalist
and
Society
the Federalist Society, and so these
We did a whole
people
show on
are.
that.
You're right. They are 100% belief and ingrained in this false world,
Yes,
and
but the whole
they
thing
want
is
to not allow anyone else to have anything beyond that.
unless you're a white male, their oppression of women and children goes through, and of people of color. They want to start that at the reproductive cycle because, as we've talked earlier pre-show, we're not going to go into this today, that women who are educated have fewer children, they have fewer health problems, and their children that they do have more resources so that they can succeed. The more educated you are, the less children you're likely to have, the less poverty you're likely to encounter, the more success your children are likely to have.
Well,
And-
if we have less kids being born, then they'd have to allow immigrants in order to keep the U.S. population up. And we
Yeah.
don't want to do that either.
I mean, you could have a not white person making your blizzard at Dairy Queen. Oh my God!
I know.
Murray! The outrage! But, but the thing is that when they can control a woman's reproductive cycle, whether she can have family planning counseling, whether she can have contraceptives, whether she can have health care, whether she can have an abortion if she wants it, you pigeonhole, you control 53% of the population of the United States. That's what this is all about. This isn't about religion. This is about control.
And
But
it's
we
about
use
controlling anyone who isn't white,
in male.
male, Christian. That is what it is about. And that's what it's always
Yeah.
been about. That's what colonialism was about. And we
Yeah.
need to make sure that we do not make these same mistakes. And, we can expand the court. That's great. But what I really think is, I think we need to change our laws, so that they can't be challenged once they have been, you know, we can't do that, but there has to be some sort of basic fundamental rehab of our constitution in order for us to move forward as a nation, because none of our
I do
rights are
wonder,
safe. None of our rights are safe.
no, I do wonder if we're even grown up enough in this country to have another constitutional Congress that
No.
gets together. No. And see,
No.
because you and
We'll
I
just
both
wait for
know.
the aliens to come down, and they can probably organize us
Oh,
way better.
we did a show on that, and we know that they're already here, according to Trump. So
They're
another
here.
reason we're still at the kids' table. I'm telling you, the 5 years leading up to what happened January 6th had the aliens going, "We're out of here," and the other countries going, "We're not paying attention to
And
them. They
our
neither live
allies
in."
left us, guys. And this is like
Yeah,
international. This is foreign. This is trade. This is how you get the
yeah.
chocolate that you love to eat when you are feeling emotional. This is, whether we like it or not, we are not a nationalist world. We are a global interconnected world. And that's nothing to be afraid
Yeah.
of. It's a good thing, and we need to start acting like it and accepting people, giving people the rights and respect that they deserve, and make our laws so we don't have to worry about losing those rights at every given moment.
It's the whiplash that the American people get every time we have every 2 years now the balance of Congress. It used to be every 4 years. Even before that, it was every 8 years. But the whiplash we get from, we have this, we don't have that. We have health care. No, you don't. You have the Lilly Ledbetter Act. No, we don't need the Equal Pay Act. Blah, blah, blah. We get whiplash from this, and it
We are
happens
traumatized
all
as a
the time.
nation by by our legislative system. We are traumatized personally by this system that the people in charge of think is the greatest thing in the world, and it's not. So it's time to start making some changes.
I'm tired of American whiplash, Murray. Tired of it. Tired of
Me
it.
too.
Tired of it. We can do better. We must do better. you know, we were at different points of history, more recent history, because the world's been around for a long time, been in leadership roles and have led the world in science and discovery and innovation and invention. And then other times, we can't get out of our own damn way to let women have health care and make their own decisions. You know?
So we know there's work ahead, and hopefully our allies will realize and stay with us, and hopefully our legislators will realize we can't keep doing this. Because not only do
Yeah.
we give whiplash to our citizens, we give whiplash to the nation, to the world, and that's not good for
And
anyone.
we're going to sit in those chairs that are too small for us and make decisions that are really small because the world isn't going to let us make big
Big
decisions nor take
decisions.
leadership.
I don't know
We
if we
haven't
should,
earned it.
really. I mean, that's always
Right
been the
now, we
issue.
shouldn't. We shouldn't. We've got to get our house in order.
Let's get our crap together before we get to sit at the big kids table. I agree with the
Yep.
rest of the world. So,
Yeah.
folks, thanks for tuning in. If you like us, subscribe, share, like. We still have a few days before we give away our 200th episode shirt, and we'll be doing that if you'd like on YouTube. If you subscribe to us on YouTube, you'll be getting one. We love you. Feel free to, like I said, like, subscribe, share. Find us every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. And that's Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com. We'll see you on Thursday, everybody. We got a great show planned for you. Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye.
Sorry,
Find a
Marie.
button.
I was getting mad.
No, you were